Hello, WHSmith, or W, if I may be so informal. I'm Stephen Fry, and I'm tremendously pleased, W, to be talking to you about my new book, More Fool Me. I decided that it was too painful to leave my autobiography in the year roughly 1986 in the way that I did. There's no reason why anybody watching should know, but I wrote 2 volumes of biography. One was called My Herb is My Wash Pot, very obvious title. The other one, slightly more bafflingly, called The Fry Chronicles, which no one understands. And the 2 of them, between them, took me from age 0 to age 26, maybe. But the ending of The Fry Chronicles was rather, shall we say, I don't know, I hope it provided a kind of cliffhanger. It was a bad moment in my life. It was when someone offered me a banned substance, and I finished the book there. The entire book was about my strange obsession with things beginning with the letter C. That sounds a bit peculiar, and I hadn't known it at the time, but looking back, it was sugar, which was chemical formula, begins with a C. C10H11O22, I think, is the chemical formula for sugar, plus candy, and chocolate, and all the things that began with C, followed by cigarettes, I became obsessed with, and then credit cards, double C, which I stole, went to prison for, and then obviously the cell of the prison, and then Cambridge, where I managed to get finally, after all my appalling expulsions career, managed to get to. And the Cambridge colleges and comedy of the footlights, and making a career, and buying classic cars and a country house. All these things beginning with C. It was so odd. Anyway, that's what the Chronicles was about. And it ended with me taking the worst C of all, being offered a line of it, as it's called. And so this 3rd book is about a really terrible time in my past. And it's been quite difficult for me to write, only in as much as it was a party time. It was a time of extraordinary excess, and it can look as if one's writing in a way that shows off, in a way that says, look at me, I was a wild animal, look how crazy I was, isn't that great? And I don't think that. Looking back, I think, what an idiot, what an absolute fool. How could I have wasted all the opportunities I had on this expensive and appalling substance? So I want to get across that it's a book that I hope is fun to read because it chronicles a period of time which was extraordinary. It coincides with the young British artists who were friends of mine, you know, Damien Hirst and people like that, and the Britpop movement in the early 90s. And the sort of high watermark or high scum line, you might want to put it, of excess. And I kept a diary at the time, so it's a very detailed diary of the appalling things I got up to in extraordinary places. And I call it More Fool Me because I was a fool. I couldn't believe when I read the diary, which I hadn't read for 20 years of the time, just how idiotic I was, just how much time and money I wasted, and how little I made of the opportunities that have been given me. And I want to go back and throttle myself in some ways. But I think it's, you know, it is, I hope it's really interesting and entertaining to read, but also a kind of warning. The last thing I want is for people to think that I'm showing off and recommending this dreadful lifestyle.